Good afternoon, friends. Today I've got a new project on the lift. Today I'm working on a 2008 Harley Davidson Street Bob, or Fat Bob. I'm not sure what they call these things. This is a friend of mine's dad's bike. He needs an oil change. He needs it gone over. This bike doesn't get ridden a whole lot, so he wanted me to kind of check the cables, check the tires, check tire pressures, look over the whole bike, and change the fluids. So today I'm going to go ahead and walk you guys through the process of changing the oil, transmission fluid, and primary fluid on this motorcycle. We'll start with the primary side of the bike. So on the left-hand side of the bike, on the primary, underneath, there's a 5/8 bolt that unscrews to drain the primary. I'm going to position the camera so you can see exactly where it's at and how to go ahead and drain the primary. Now I've ran the motorcycle for a little while and I rode it up onto the lift, so it is warm and it is ready to be drained. As you can see, right in front of the kickstand here, there's a bolt right here. This is a 5/8 bolt, so we're going to go ahead and unscrew this, and this is where you'll drain the primary fluid. Now on the drain plug here, you'll see there's a magnet on the top, and sometimes there will be some residual metal shavings or whatnot. Usually it's clutch metal. If you see a lot on there, it's cause for concern. A little bit's not too bad. There's also a rubber O-ring on here, and this one is in desperate need of replacement, so we'll have to go ahead and swap that. Okay, with the primary fluid drained, we can reach in with an extension here, move the kickstand out of the way, and get on the bolt here to drain the engine oil. Same thing on the engine oil drain plug. We'll inspect the top here to see if there's any miscellaneous metal shards or anything that should be a cause for concern. This one also has a rubber O-ring on it. We'll be replacing that as well. Now we'll take our new O-ring and we'll put it onto the drain plug for the primary. And we'll reinstall the primary plug. Now that the primary plug is installed, we're going to continue to let the oil drain. We'll move around to the other side of the bike and we'll start draining the transmission fluid. Looking at the right-hand side of the bike, I'm going to kind of show you where the drain plug is for the transmission. Now there's no good way to get the camera underneath there to show exactly where it's at, so I'm going to point it out best I can. If you look right at the center of the transmission and you follow the line directly down the motorcycle and directly under here, the drain plug is literally right in the middle. So it is threaded up into the transmission, and with the frame here and everything in the way, there's no good way to get the camera underneath. So I'm going to just show you where it's at, which is right here. Then I'll position the camera onto the bench here and show you how to take it out and what it's going to look like. With the camera positioned on the lift here, you can kind of see maybe where my hand's at, and the drain plug is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and get on that with the wrench. Of course, I'm doing all this by feel because I can't really see it. Now all of the drain plugs, as far as I'm aware, are all the same size. The O-rings are too, and often you'll find these O-rings are in really bad shape and they're really kind of stuck in place. So it helps to take a little pick and pull them up and over. And they should be malleable enough to take off easily, but sometimes it just needs, something small to get in there with. And once you've removed that, then of course you put the new ones in place. We'll repeat the process on the transmission drain plug here. These were all pretty bad. I don't know if they've been replaced recently or not. This is the first time I've done an oil change on this bike. But again, it has sat for a little while, so it's probably something that's a little bit of wear, a little bit of sitting, and hasn't been done in a while. With all of the O-rings in place, we'll let our fluids continue to drain, and then we'll go through the refilling process. Lastly, we'll remove the oil filter. Now I do have an actual Harley Davidson oil filter wrench, and I'm not sure if it's going to work the way I want it to. We're going to give it a shot though and see if we can get this to work properly. It seems to be gripping like it should. I'm not the biggest fan of these things. Sometimes they work and sometimes they fail. Thankfully this one's actually working. As you can see, this is a legit Harley Davidson oil filter wrench. I'm not sure what the size of it is. It doesn't have any markings other than the Harley symbol. And this, of course, is where it makes a giant mess. So you're going to want to have the pan underneath the bike as best as possible, because once this starts draining, it kind of really goes everywhere. Now, I know they make a little catch for this. I don't have that either, unfortunately. So I'm just going to drain this just like I would do on my own bike. Being that this bike has forward controls, I'm going to have to remove the linkage here to be able to get the oil filter out. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that next. Looks like the back side of this is a 3/8 and the nut itself is a 1/2 inch. Drop the shifter and the linkage out of the way, and now I can remove the oil filter. Now I know sometimes people take the filter and they'll fill it with oil. I'm not doing that. I typically don't do that. One of the things I do is I take some of the residual oil that was on the old filter and I wet the gasket with it. Now this is a practice that I've been doing a long time on every single vehicle I've ever owned whenever I'm changing oil. A lot of people will say use new oil. I've always used the old oil, knowing that there's not a lot of metal shavings or anything like that in the oil. That's where I make the determination of using old oil. Now we'll go ahead and thread in the new filter. Now with the oil filter on, we're to the point of filling the bike. One of the key things to think about before we start this process is, do you have all of your drain plugs reinstalled? Also, it's crucial that you torque those to spec, that you don't over tighten those. I've seen a lot of these over tightened and then it ruining the pan on the bottom of the transmission. And when that's wrecked, then unfortunately you're replacing that whole entire transmission pan. It's easier to replace the outer primary. I mean, they're both fairly easy to replace, but it's work that you really don't want to do. And I have seen that happen. Now we're going to fill the primary side first. This is where I always like to start. There are 5 different studs here. These are all a T27. So we'll go ahead and remove this first. I like to loosen all these up, leaving the top stud in place for last. That holds everything from flopping around, and I'll remove my bottom 4 next. While supporting the cover, then you'll remove your top stud. There's a gasket inside. And this one's actually in really good shape. Typically, you'll replace these every time. Usually there's more wear. This one did not see a ton of wear. Honestly, I don't think this bike had a lot of miles on it since its last oil change. For this oil change, I'm using Maxima products. I've used this in a lot of my motorcycles and I really do like it. So this oil change kit comes with primary lube, transmission lube, and engine oil. They're all labeled on each one of the containers. This bike in particular takes 1 quart of primary fluid, 1 quart of transmission fluid, and I believe it's 3 quarts of oil. I'll have to check that with my manual. So we'll go ahead and we'll put this full quart into the primary next. Filling the primary is always one of those things that's a challenge because there's no room in here. And I have a funnel that articulates and I can guide the fluid in. So what I do is actually hook the funnel on one of the studs here, and then I start filling, and this will fill the complete primary with 1 quart of oil. Now I know they make a tray that kind of sits in here with a little funnel apparatus in it. I don't have that either. That's one of those future things that I wouldn't mind having, but for now this does work. With the entire quart now into the primary, it's time to put our seal back in place. Typically those will stick in place. And with the seal in place, now it's time to put our outer primary, or excuse me, our derby cover back on. Again, starting from the top, you can also put the seal onto that stud as well, and then everything will stay together. With the top stud in place, I'll go ahead and put my last 4 studs in, slowly tighten them all by hand. Lastly, we'll go through and we'll snug each one of these up. I like to do these in a crisscross pattern, just like you do with wheel studs. And I do them all by hand, just a little snug, nothing crazy, and that's all finished up. Now that we're on the right-hand side of the bike, you'll notice there's a filler cap here and a filler cap here. This plug here is for the transmission fluid, and this is for the engine oil. A lot of times, folks don't know where this is. This is for your transmission. This takes a large hex or an Allen head. I'll get the size for you in a second there. This, I believe, unscrews. Some unscrew, some pull out. Once that's unscrewed, then it just pulls out of place. When it comes to removing the transmission plug, that is actually a 3/8 inch Allen head. So you'll have to get on that with a socket wrench and open it up. We'll do that now. There's not a lot of working room in here, so we'll slowly unthread this transmission drain plug, just getting it loose, and then we'll be able to spin it out by hand. And as you can see, there's a dipstick on there that gives you a line, tells you if it's full or add. We're going to go ahead and put 1 quart of transmission fluid into the transmission. Same thing on the transmission. We're using the Maxima V-Twin transmission fluid. This is an 80/90. It's a full synthetic, so I'm going to go ahead and use my funnel to put that into the transmission. I did take the funnel and I did spray it out with some brake cleaner, and I wiped it down, and now it's clean, so that way I'm not cross-contaminating oils in different scenarios. With our transmission filled up, we'll go ahead and reinstall the dipstick here. We're going to thread this all the way down to the bottom by hand. Then we'll thread it back out and we'll check the level. As you can see on the dipstick, it gives us a full reading, so that's all set. And for the engine oil, we're using the Maxima V-Twin engine oil. This is a 2050. Again, it's full synthetic. I do have my funnel put into the engine fill hole. As you can see here, this is where the engine fill hole is for engine oil. So we'll go ahead and put 3 quarts of oil into the engine. With the oil refilled, we'll put the dipstick back into place and we'll thread it back in. As you can see, changing the oil on your fat bob is pretty easy, pretty straightforward. The next step I need to take is I need to get the bike down. I need to start the motorcycle, let it run, get up to operating temperature, leave it on the Jiffy stand, unscrew the dipstick, and then check the engine oil level just to make sure that it's right. But based on the manual, I know that everything as far as fluid goes is in there properly and it's where it should be. Hopefully this video was very helpful to you, and now you know how to change the oil on your fat bob. Well, friends, if you like the video, feel free to give it a like. I really appreciate that. If you have any comments or questions, drop them in the comment section below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, hit that subscribe button. I've got a lot of things in the works right now and a lot of videos coming out. So if you're looking forward to future builds, future oil changes, future riding, future whatever that has to do with motorcycles, check me out, subscribe, and follow along. Anyway, friends, I appreciate you sticking around to the end. We'll catch you next time.